and go take it into the sanctuary and start throwing it around. And if they did, well, a couple things would happen. Somebody would stop them immediately, and then somebody would be in there to start cleaning it up, because this is God's sanctuary. Well, when we eat the wrong foods, when we eat food strictly because of the reason we like the taste, and that's why we eat cooked foods. We eat cooked foods for two reasons. We like the taste, and we are under the mistaken impression that they're good for us. Those are why we eat them, because cooked foods are poison. All of them are poison to some degree. Some are much more poisonous than others, but the first time I ever heard anybody say that, or I read it in a book, I thought it was just an outrageous claim. Cooked foods are poison, but they are. They're poison. And they lead to all disease. Disease does not come from our genes. It comes from our diet. We're led to go into the doctor's office, say, what's your family history? Most doctor offices, if you don't want to fill out your family history, they're not going to take you as a patient. And believe me, genetics has nothing to do with disease. And even if we do have a slight genetic propensity towards certain disease, such as cancer or arthritis, it can easily be overcome by the right diet. So this is our temple. This is what God gave us. And when we follow those rules, we're rewarded with great health. And if you'll notice, you will not find any chronic disease in the wild. No one ever shoots a deer and brings it home and opens it up and finds it full of cancer, or arthritis, or fibromyalgia, or any of these other diseases, chronic diseases. We're the only species on Earth that ever gets sick with any kind of chronic disease, other than the animals we domesticate and put on a cat chow, puppy chow diet. And then they end up with all the diseases we have. And if we give them the exact same feed, exact same food that we give ourselves, we feed to our animals. So little Fifi, when we have steak, and little Fifi gets steak, and when we're having lasagna, little Fifi's getting lasagna. When we get cancer, poor little Fifi is going to get cancer right along with us. So you know, it's unmistakable, and the evidence is really pretty glaring about what could bring us health and what won't bring us health, and yet we choose to ignore it. And this is our temple, and we should honor it. And I always tell people, God grew an apple, but he didn't make a frying pan. That was us. We invented that. We cooked our food, and you know, I actually could go on and on giving the reasons why you know, we need cooked food, or we need raw foods in our diet, and why we need to keep raw foods out of our diet. I mean, cooked foods out of our diet as much as possible. You know, we can talk about the enzymes, the chemical nutrients, and all that. Once again, it doesn't matter. You don't need to be a car mechanic to drive a car. Thank God, because I couldn't drive at all. I don't know how to work on a car. The same thing is health. You don't need to know all the various aspects of health and what nutrients a certain plant contains and other foods, what proportions you're putting in. Just the main thing is knowing which food you want to eat, making sure that they're raw, and getting a broad array of nutrients in your diet. So that's what I have to talk about as far as raw food tonight. What I came to talk about more than anything else is water. I have, this is my first book, Confessions of a Bodybuilder. It has nothing to do with lifting weights or anything. It's about building your body with water and nutrients. It's rejuvenating the body with spirulina, chlorella, raw foods, and ionized water. It's the first thing I wrote about 5 years ago, and you know, I have really come a long way since writing this book. I did a radio show on health for a couple of years. I interviewed over 100 people, including some of the biggest names out there. Hiawatha. She was on a couple of times. I had Gabriel Cousins on, Dr. Gabriel Cousins. He wrote the introduction to my book. Peter Ragnar, a phenomenal guy, lives up in a mountain, 100% raw food. The guy's in his 80s. He looks like he's in his 40s. He's got the muscles to prove it. He wrote the preface to my book, the forward, I should say. And but I really got to meet everybody that's out there. I had Jack LaLanne on the show, and I had Patricia Bragg, and Viktoras Kolvinskis, and David Wolf, and Victoria Botenko, and Paul Neeson, and the names go on and on. It was really a great honor to talk to all these people about what makes you healthy and what doesn't make you healthy. And I learned a lot, and I basically stopped doing the show so I could finish my second book, Achieving Great Health. What I found along the way, when I started talking to all these people, I started going to lectures, I started getting DVDs and talking to people and everything. All these raw foodists I found right away, they were leaving one thing out. Actually 2 or 3 things that I found really important. And here I talk about my 6 components of natural health. And again, that's all I talk about is how to follow nature. When we follow nature, we are rewarded with health. When we get away from nature, our punishment is disease. And it's as simple as that. And if you really, if you're in a wheelchair and you didn't get put in that wheelchair because you had an accident, you're in that wheelchair because you have a debilitating disease. The only thing that is keeping you from standing up out of that wheelchair is you. You're putting the wrong things in your body. And I even have it on the back of the book, your body is capable of healing itself of any disease if you stop putting the wrong things into your body and if you start putting the right things into your body. And like I said, the right things are the raw foods and the wrong things are cooked foods. But one of the most glaring things I found that nobody was really talking about was water. I really don't know of anybody else out there I could point to and say, yeah, he was talking about water. Not only was he talking about water, but he was talking the right kind of water. Because everybody really talks about the wrong kind of water, in my opinion. And I'm going to tell you about this unit right here and why I promote this so heavily and why it's just not something that I sell and I get kind of the accusation every once in a while. You promote that because you sell them. No, I sell them because this is one of the most incredible things I've ever seen in my life, what this does to water. But there's some very clear answers that I'll lay out here tonight about which waters belong in your body and which waters don't belong in your body. Which waters are good for you and which waters are harmful and why. And I'm very specific in my book about that. But nobody was out there really talking about water. Well, if you look in my book here, I have a raw food pyramid. And I was just kind of looking at the regular food pyramid one day, and I thought, I thought, what a ridiculous thing to put in this raw food pyramid. If you come from the viewpoint of a cooked foodist, and by the way, that's something I call a muggle, and cooked foods are muggle foods. Has anybody ever seen Harry Potter and know about that? Well, the people that are, there's people that can do the magic, and then there's people that can't do the magic, and they're muggles. Well, people who eat cooked foods are muggles in my world because they don't have any power. And the people in Harry Potter, they can do magic and have power. Well, when you eat cooked foods, you steal your own power. You steal yourself of power. And it's the power of health. And it's the power of having true energy. And when you eat cooked raw foods like we did here tonight, there's some real energy in there. Truly energy. If you take a Carillion photograph of raw foods, that's where you look at the aura or the energy field around something. It's called Carillion photography. You'll notice that